Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Hello and welcome to yet another cast request from the Dota 2 Cast subreddit. Today's game submitted by Mr. Callisto34, I believe his name is. Can't actually see his name on either side, but I believe he is Radiant. So jumping right into it, picks and bans so far. The Nikes and the Batrider, fairly common. Nyx is a little bit less so over the last month or so. He has fallen off a little. Certainly not always dedicated, not always given that first ban preference, because it does mean that a hero like Wisp, a hero like Bat, well, Bat not in this case, but a hero like OD, a hero like Razor, all of those heroes can get through. And speaking of OD, there we see him now, but it does mean, again, Wisp in the pool, as well as the Razor and the Naga, depending on how each team wants to run it. Now, this is, I believe, a pub game, so the players don't actually know each other. So it might well be that they don't have somebody who can play a Wisp, but they don't have somebody who can play that Naga. Which is always a little bit of a problem coming into pub games, because you're not really sure how a pool can play here. It's actually going to be Undying coming out, which, I mean, Undying was, 6 months ago, he was a very, very strong hero. He still is in a lot of ways. He's got a lot of power against tri-lanes, typically either running a tri-lane versus tri-lane lane, or in that off-lane against a tri-lane, because of the power that the Decay has, if you can hit 2 or 3 heroes with it with a single cast. Massively boosts general damage, and it also makes him a lot bulkier, which is one of the reasons why he can actually survive that off-lane, despite having no built-in survivability skills. Coming into the mid-game, he's also a powerful teamfight hero. So maybe we'll see the Queen of Pain or the Puck coming out as the mid from the Dire side, and we might see something like the Gyrocopter as the carry, again, to try and combo with that mid-game dominance that Undying is going to offer you. Alchemist, meanwhile, on the other team, coming out as the carry, well, I assume the carry. Alchemist now almost always played as the number one. Month or two ago, you did see him in a variety of roles, whether it's that mid as a utility and so forth, but now, almost always farming. And Alchemist and Rubik is going to be supporting him in that lane. Now, the Rubik pick does perhaps they have realized that they are going to be seeing a mid-game lineup coming out from the opposing team, so Rubik, well, just in and of himself, a very powerful hero in terms of utility, but especially with his ulti, he does sort of dissuade the enemy team from picking heroes that have too strong abilities where he can get his hands on a skill like cooldown, or indeed Queen of Pain's ulti. He can throw that right back, and suddenly you're back into the team fight. Darkseer, another hero who would combat, I assume, looking at that trend, you are looking for some kind of mid-game with that ulti to combo with Undying to a tombstone down on top. And the Darkseer, of course, would combo very nicely with that. The one issue is that Undying and Treant Protector does limit you a little bit, because neither are, in a tri-lane, are particularly powerful heroes. And again, Undying is typically run as a tri-lane versus tri-lane hero. And so if you're putting Treant and Undying in a single lane, suddenly you haven't got a great deal, well, you've got no disables at all to deal with the enemy team suddenly barreling at you. And indeed, a Rubik and an Alchemist are already a very scary combo. Queen of Pain actually coming out as that. Ben Puck still is in the pool, and as I said, I think that would be another hero who would combo with that. Excuse me, with that AoE wombo combo that Undying does help facilitate. And Gyrocopter, and I don't think the Gyrocopter is going to be a viable pickup, but it is something that the Radiant team could get their hands on. The Puck, that is, not the Gyrocopter. Because Puck as a mid is very versatile. He fits most lineups, and against an Undying, against a Trink, against another hero who has a lot of AoE damage, Puck is strong because it means you can get the jump on him, you can force them into a fight where they have bad positioning, and also you can get that silence off, you can stop your supports from getting obliterated instantly, and suddenly turn around and take a fight. And one thing worth mentioning is that Alchemist at the moment is the only carry we can see. He's a very strong carry at the moment. However, he's not the absolute best when playing from behind. He doesn't have a strong mid-game AoE skill like Gyrocopter, like Lunar. Nor does he have a really, really powerful stereo skill like a Spectre. And nor does he have an ability like Anti-Mage, which allows him to jump around the map farming. What he does have is, of course, raw brute farming power, which is all well and good if you're able to get that farm. However, looking at that mid-game lineup, it might be that Dire is looking to try and pressure the Alchemist in, move him out of that lane, move him into the jungle, from the jungle, push him out of there, bottle him up inside his base, and once the Alchemist is bottled inside that base, he actually struggles to move out, because again, unlike an anti-mage, he's on an agile hero, he can't jump around the map, farm up 2 or 3 cute waves, jump off some trees, TP away. Alchemist has to push down a lane, he has to get that farm, and then he has, if he wants to TP home, he has to do so in full view. It's actually going to be the Beastmaster getting picked up a little bit early. I assume going to be the offlane, although he is run sometimes as that mid. On the Radiant side, still I am expecting some kind of AoE. They have got their mid left to pick. Puck is the one I would say is most favoured for them at the moment. Timbersaw as well, again simply for that AoE damage, that AoE one-move combo. Meanwhile, looking at Radiant now, it looks like they're shaping up into a, well, they have a lot of single target Saber. Alchemist stun is AoE. In practice, you generally aren't going to hit more than 1, 2 at most. Rubik, of course, telekinesis is very, very powerful in terms of getting the jump on somebody, and Beastmaster with a roar is perhaps the best, well, it is the best single target lockdown skill in the game, so it does limit Dire in terms of picks, but at the same time, they've already banned out Lifesteal, and Lifesteal is the big hero that Beastmaster's good against. Sven as well, to a middling degree. Indeed, Sven would, but I don't think we would have seen a Sven come out from the Radiant side anyway. You already got the Tree and Protector, a melee support in that lane, who would have been in that tri-lane. So I can't see Radiant. It does mean that Dire can't pick it. Now I'll have to really think carefully about picking a hero who's vulnerable to being locked down. At the same time, I don't think that was an option they were going to explore anyway. With that said, they are mulling over this last pick, so perhaps they were, and now they're trying to rethink. Mid still in the pool, carry still in the pool, and I assume that second support. If you're going to go pick up that second support now, I think you need something who has some kind of disable. It's actually going to be the TA, I assume, as that mid. Again, a bit odd. Now, what it does do is that, as I mentioned earlier, Alchemist kind of vulnerable to being shut down. If he can be pushed into his base, he can struggle in that mid game. Part, and TA is a very snowball dependent hero, and if she can get those early kills, if she can, then she'll be able to keep roaming, keep pressuring that out, make him afraid to farm, and once you make an Alchemist afraid to farm, well then your carry has the clear advantage. What Alchemist excels at is last hit for last hit, he will always outmatch you. However, 6 slot versus 6 slot, indeed equivalent farm versus equivalent farm, he's generally the weaker carry, at least until level 16. The steroid in his ulti doesn't really kick in properly until he's 16. You compare that to other carries with steroids such as the CK, who is fine at level 11, or indeed something like the Tiny. Lunar and Gyrocopter, again, also very, very powerful in terms of their steroids, and they don't need to hit that level 16 to be able to use it. Now we have that Radiant mulling over there. Pick either the mid or that final support. As I said, you do have a lot of lockdown, so I would like to see some damage. Preferably something to combo with that Rubik. You often see Leshrac or Lina, either of which would help to combo, but it's actually going to be the Pudge as the mid. Pudge versus TA. Typically, Pudge struggles in lane. He doesn't have a great deal of lane control. However, what he does shine is if he can get that hook off, he can potentially get first blood, suddenly turn that lane around. However, against the TA, she'll generally be able to refraction and block that hook damage, should allow her to get away. At the same time, Pudge won't have as hard a time controlling the lane against her, because she is very short range. She can actually damage her with Rot. But now, with that Alchemist, with that Rubik, with that Beastmaster, with that Pudge, we have 4 heroes, all very focused on single target lockdown. At the same time, again, no hero on the Radiant side, on the Dire side, who really can't afford to be locked down. And the issue with lockdown with their pick lineups I've seen in the past is that, sure, you can get that pick off, you can get that crucial pick off sometimes, but often you're not going to find that pick off every time. And also, you come into these fights, you've got all these single target disables, you can lock someone down, but then the rest of your team can just roll all over you with AoE. And indeed, speaking of AoE, we have that Luna coming out as the carry. Very powerful in terms of that mid-game. Her and Alka are sort of an interesting beast in terms of matchup, because early on, Alchemist, I think, is a better hero simply because Concoction. Luna doesn't have the absolute strongest presence in if she gets ganked. However, coming to that mid-game, suddenly she ramps up in power thanks to that ulti. Alchemist falls off a little because, again, no real steroid at that point. And it takes a little while for his God Advantage to kick in, but then as you start to reach the tail end of that mid-game, Luna starts to fall off a little, Alchemist starts to pull ahead as he starts to get those items into him, but then uber late game, 6 slot versus 6 slot, I think Luna is that stronger carry. Now the question is at which point this game is going to end. If the Dire side can force the advantage with the Luna, then they can very well, again, bottle up Alchemist into that base, prevent him from ever getting to the tail end of that mid-game, and from there, win. However, if they can't quite get over that high ground, if Alchemist and his team are able to just defend, which is a bit of an issue because they don't have a lot of AoE damage, so they may not be able to stop a concerted push coming out from the Luna and the Undying. And so I would like to see a hero with AoE damage. I did say the Lina or the Leshrac, it would work to combo with that Rubik. And indeed, Rubik versus Alchemist versus... I do apologize. And plus, Leshrac means that if you catch somebody out, if you catch the Undying out, who's probably going to be that offlane, it's going to be the Jakiro, the hero who is set up quite well by the Rubik. Ice Path, not the most fearsome of disables in terms of a follow-up stun. It's only 1 second at level 1, but it is quite useful in terms of area denial, and he does have a lot of AoE damage, which is really what the Radiant side desperately needed. And Macropire is absolutely fantastic. If you can throw that out, indeed, you've got all that, as I was saying, you've got the lockdown from Arcos, from Rubik, from Beastmaster, from Pudge. You can lock down the Luna, you can lock down the TA on that. TA's refractions get melted by Jakiro, one of the strengths of the hero. Just want to check that's working, cool. Get absolutely melted by Jakiro. And indeed, again, if you can lock down that Luna, you throw a Macropire on top of her, she will melt. Now, with that said, it is going to be Lion coming out as that final pick. I would possibly prefer the Nanga, because something I wanted to mention was that the Pudge and the Beastmaster are both very... If they can catch Luna out, she will go down, and that is a bit of a risk for the Dire side. Before Luna really starts to bulk up, she's vulnerable to being caught out, and coming into a fight where they're kind of split up will prevent them from getting that cohesive mid-game teamfight advantage that they need. So a Naga song means that if a fight starts out badly, you can disengage very easily. At the same time, it also means you can come into a fight with a Luna ulting right on top of your enemies. And there's not much that that the other team can do against that. They can't pick you apart then. And that is, I think, what Radiant are going to have to rely on in this early game to mid-game. Getting those pickoffs on that Luna, getting those pickoffs on that TA. Indeed, the Undying before they can get their big... Well, on Undying and Luna before they can get their skills off, and TA simply to stop it from being a pain in terms of damage. Now, just running over both teams, we're going to be seeing Protocloud playing that off-lane Beastmaster, leaving a Wraith, so YN playing the mid-lane Pudge. Skies YN going safe lane Alchemist as the carry. Tensorks playing that Jakiro. Meanwhile, Chancellor Puddinghead going to be running that Rubik, also in that support lane. Over on the Dire side, we have Lone Druid playing the Templar Assassin mid, no surprises there. Lone Druid number 2 playing Treant Protector, and he's going to be supporting Well Played on the Luna, and finally Doge, such win, so success. Wow, it's going to be fleshing out that tri-lane, leaving Rob to offlane that bot with the Undying. Now these wards will actually be quite crucial, I think, because Undying, I should say, is a hero who, if you can get into a sustained fight, he's very, very good, because Decay, it stacks up, he's chipping a lot of damage. Sorry, he's taking a lot of HP off his enemies. Gently putting out looking like what's going. But at the same time, if you can get a quick engagement, you get Rubik jumping in with that Ice Path, with that Alchemist to follow up, hasn't actually taken Concoction at level 1. No real surprise there, he wants that farm. But once we start to hit that level 2 point, Rob will have to be very careful that he isn't caught out. And indeed, without that ward there, he wouldn't really be able to roam out past his base because the creeps would settle. Well, but thanks to creep pulling, creeps stacking, the Radiant side will be able to keep the creeps well clear of this this point here where Chancellor Puddinghead's standing, and that will prevent. And that would allow Chancellor Puddinghead or Jakiro to get in with nice path, get in with telekinesis, and set up and finish off Rob very quickly. However, as is, we can already see the creeps starting to push. As is, the creeps will actually be clashing under the tower. If he's good, he can keep them there. He'll be able to get XP, and once he starts to get the decay stacks up, he'll be comfortable in moving forward for a few last hits. Not every single one, of course. In that mid lane, Raised by N actually taking quite a bit of damage. I would have assumed that Lone Druid wouldn't. Well, Pudge versus TA, neither I would really expect to have a clear advantage. TA can't rely too heavily on the tankiness that Refraction gives her, because of course Rot burns straight through it. At the same time, Pudge can't rely on getting that hook. But I would have thought he'd be able to control it fairly well because they are melee heroes. As long as he positions well and doesn't get hit by Cyblades, he should have been okay. But he's taking a lot of damage. You can see him now, Lone Druid, going in. And Pudge having to back off. He doesn't have Salve. He doesn't have Bottle. Still about 250 away from that. Now we have Beastmaster trying to get away. And he's going to TP away. Well played coming in. They do have... Out comes the Lion stun very late there, though. Not 100% sure why it was so delayed, because that would have stopped it, but he may have been lagging. I'm not sure. It seemed like the kind of thing where it was lagging, because he had plenty of time to cancel it as well once he saw the TP had finished. But there we are, swapping over to last hit. Alk slightly in the lead ahead of Luna, which isn't a big issue so far. But if the game continues like this, Alchemist is left to farm that lane. Again, where he's strongest is matching another hero last hit for last hit, because he starts to pull ahead, and suddenly you get into that, you get towards the tail end of that mid game, and he's emerging with one, maybe two more items than you are, thanks to the power that Goblin's Greed affords when farming. Again, it is early days, so we might see Lone Druid already with the haste rune. She does start to need, once she hits that level 6, once she gets those traps, she needs to start roaming around. She can probably kill that Pudge, she's controlling him very, very well. Of course, not at this point, but once she gets the traps, she might well be able to dive in on them, finish him off. And from there, that could be first blood. And if she's able to do that, she'll be able to roam in. She'll then have that level and gold advantage. He won't be a big threat anymore because both are snowball dependent heroes. Pudge need those early levels just as much as TA does, if not more so. Because at the same time, while TA is snowball dependent, she does have some ability late game in terms of general rank. Like Pudge doesn't have that. All he has late game is hooking, and that's unreliable. Something I find a little bit interesting is that Pudge is almost more reliable. It is almost more unreliable against mid-tier players than against top-tier players, simply because Pudge is the most played hero in pub. So if you're playing against him in pub all the time, you kind of get used to playing against him. Fortify coming out, not 100. That may have been a misclick there. We now have Beastmaster looking like he wants to start stacking. He hasn't got Call of the Wild at level 2 yet, so he won't be able to use the boar. He's going to have to be burning through a lot of mana using those wild axes. It looks like he's actually just going to use his own body to pull that creep. Meanwhile, we have Lone Druid roaming in on the bot lane. She does have double damage, and we did have a lift coming out from Rubik. And seeing, I think, both the Alchemist and the Jakiro roaming in, she decided she didn't want any of that. And she's opted to back off and instead take this stack. Now sitting at level 5. Pudge level 6, he does have his ulti, and with that he might as well start ganking, because Pudge doesn't really benefit much, if at all, from sitting in lane once he's got 6. You do want to start pressuring Luna if possible. Of course, to do so, you are going to need that level 6 on Beastmaster as well. You're going to need that raw. To apologise. But if you can catch her out, she's very, very dead. She doesn't have a lot of HP early on. He's actually going to back off once again. He has got Bottle now, but even so, he can't really stand up to the harass we're seeing coming out from Lone Druid, who's, I think, just doing very well in terms of Cyblade damage. Actually opting to take 3 points in Cyblades though, instead of opting for the meld, which is something I disagree with to an well, I disagree with it generally because it does mean that when you come into that ganking phase, you don't have that sudden burst of damage, and indeed that minus armor, which is very powerful against a hero like Pudge if he hooks you, but also very powerful against a hero like Alchemist who has low armor. Rob now on the run. You do have the stun from Alchemist that flies out. Rob's going to pop his ult. He does have Tombstone left as well, but it's not even needed, as Alchemist decides that charging into a big angry zombie is something he doesn't want to do. Just in terms of support levels, I think that we've actually got the Rubik sitting well. The Rubik is down at level 2 still. And you compare that to the Treant up at level 3. You've got the Line up at level 3. Not a huge difference, but the issue is that coming to this mid-game fight, Rubik, as I said, stealing those skills, getting his hands on an Eclipse, getting his hands on a Tombstone, getting his hands on the Overgrowth, all of those will make an absolutely crucial difference in those mid-game fights, which at the moment I think Dire have the much stronger team for. Radiant can potentially turn it around if they can get a very good ice path, but at the same time, outside of picking, they just don't have the general grinding 5 heroes against another 5 heroes lineup. But nor do they have the lineup for split pushing, and indeed Treant is a hero who makes it very painful to split push. He basically means that you do have to force a fight if you want to take down the tower. You can't afford to just chip away, because you're going to chip away, you'll back off, and then when you show up once again, now having the then it'll be back in full health. We do have the minus up on Alchemist up at 7 minutes to allow him to farm a bit. Beastmaster now on the run, and Wellplay going to finish him off. Wraithbane coming in, was at the hook, misses by a smidgen. Let's see Pudge roaming up there. I assumed that he was actually going to try and set something up on a Lunar, but just a little too late. We didn't have the Roar on Beastmaster yet. Indeed, still level 5. Compared to Undying, I saw him not pop his ulti before, and yep, he's at level 7 now. Doing very well for himself. Lone Jordan now picking up that region. She looks like she wants to rotate. No, she looks like she was turning back mid, but now committing to that bot lane, it would appear. You know, at top lane we do have Pudge on the run. Beastmaster going to go back in. He does have the board chasing after Lone Jordan. The hook comes out, catching a creep. Lone Jordan now on the run, going to invisible away, and Lion actually going down to creeps and nothing else, I think. And it looks like Treant will be able to get away indeed. So that's 1 kill going the way of the Radiant side. TP now coming out top lane from Doge, such win, so success. Well, we do have the Pudge hanging off in the trees. He does have the hook, and indeed out it flies. Thought the creeps might have actually blocked that, but anyway, we do have the Roddick out. He doesn't have mana for Dismember to follow up, though. You're going to get turned into a frog and impale. And chasing heavily after that line, but now Luna roaming in. She's right-clicking to her heart's content. She doesn't have mana for either Eclipse, but Pudge is just going to go down to right-clicks anyway. Now the stun flies out on Protocloud. We do have Lone Jordan coming in with that leech line, and they're going to just wail away. And the last hit from Lion's going to finish off. Meanwhile, Undying NTA picking up 2 kills down bot. Fortunately, I missed the entirety of that, but that's a pretty massive thing. 2 heroes being able to take down 3, being able to take down that carry in that tri-lane. And something with Alchemist is that not only does killing him, I mean, you kill any carry in their tri-lane, it disrupts them a bit, it makes them hesitant to move out and farm, which is a great advantage. It means that you set them back a little bit in terms of gold XP, but Alchemist in particular gets set back even harder because he does rely on continuous last hits for greed to really run out. Now he's gone drop down back to 8. Indeed, he wants to be able to last hit as continuously as possible in order to be maintaining that 30 gold boost. And so that will set him back a bit. And if we can get TA continue to roam there's not really much fun in their roaming top, in all honesty, because Well Played is controlling that incredibly well. Beastmaster still on level 5. He doesn't have his Roar. Now sitting at 2 deaths. And so there's no real point in roaming her roaming top. Her roaming bot is the real thing. And indeed, now that we've got this control established on the on the Dire safe lane, I think they will be looking to push down towers. Top, also preferably bot, because if you can get down that bot tower. Suddenly Alchemist can't even move out past that T2. Generally going to be forced into that jungle. And again, from that jungle, he's actually a lot easier to finish off. You force him out of jungle, make him afraid to farm in there, and suddenly he's forced back into his base. Meanwhile, Luna picking up yet another kill top lane on that Beastmaster. Still hasn't actually used her clip. She's actually opted to go for the Helm of the Dominator build, which I'm not sure I agree with in this situation, because you are looking for that mid-game dominance. Typically, Helm of the Dominator, the big thing Helm of the Dominator does for you is allow you to stack the ancient cannons, because early on it's not a huge shield in terms of the health it gives it, because your damage isn't that high either. TP now coming out from Beastmaster, but instead that BKB, because they are, I think, going to be looking to push these mid-game team fights, going to be looking to shut down this Alchemist. Indeed, they sort of have to if they want to have a chance of staying in this game. I mean, they are 7 up at the moment. Just look at gold. It's about 3,000 their way. XP 6,000, similar story. Very heavily in their advantage, but Alchemist is one of those heroes who, if left unchecked, will be able to drive back that gold advantage. They do need to keep shutting him down, I feel. Which is why, as I said, I would prefer the BKB, because it does allow to come into those mid-game fights a lot quicker, a lot faster. TA now picking up that Invis rune. She's roaming bot. We have Rob there once again. Probably going to look to set something up. TA roaming, and she's going to find Chancellor putting ahead. The poor Rubik, still only level 3. Out comes the melted, out comes the refraction. She's going to get lifted up, and now TA on the offense. Meanwhile, Treant Protector picking up a kill on Pudge, but down goes Chancellor putting ahead to simple right clicks. We do have the ulti coming out from Alchemist, and Chikiro running around as well. Now the ulti from Robert, out comes the Tombstone, out comes the Decay, catching both, and the Soul Rip now undying with 4-5 stacks on the Decay, make that 8. Sorry, make that 7. Now chasing again, we get the stun charging up on Alchemist, going through that lone Druid, allowing Rob to keep following up. We do have traps up now, I believe. Yes, off cooldown, out they come. That's going to let Rob get in close. He's going to throw out the Decay and just wail away on Tenthawks. Down goes Kiro, thanks to the, I think that was 7 or 8 stacks just before they started to wear off on the Undying. And it's in those protracted fights when you're trying to get away, when you can't really turn around and fight, that Undying suddenly becomes this horrific threat. It's partly because of Tombstone, hook flying out from Pudge, not able to catch anything. Partly because of Tombstone, because you get this massive army of zombies that will solely build up and then just tear away generally at your supports, but even to a carry that can be a bit of a threat coming into the later stages of the fight. Luna quite low, but just from farming. We do actually have the Ogre Club up on her, so I assume going for that BKB build, unless she's going for the SY. Sincerely hope not. Or indeed the Agonist, but neither of those items would be very good at all. More certainly the BKB.
Tower is under attack.
But yeah, again, in those protected fights, out comes the hook, not able to latch, unfortunately, and Pudge really hasn't been doing too well for himself, down at 0-2-0. He's gotten the hook online. He did ulti near here. I did catch out of the corner of my eye, but he got killed there as well. And so every time he's tried to go for a gank, he's been killed. Beastmaster, again, hasn't really been able to do too much. Now, I did mention that they are a pick-centered lineup, and indeed they are. They rely, I think, on... While the Diastar are going to rely on these mid-game fights, Radiant are going to rely on, well, 3 of their heroes in terms of the Rubik, in terms of that Beastmaster, in terms of that Pudge. They're very, very powerful, and they're going to rely on roaming around trying to pick up that Luna, but they've failed in that so far, so they will have to fall back on the Alchemist. But the Alchemist now sitting at 2 deaths, and just being wailed all over by Tempo Assassin. And I think if Rob and the Lone Druid try and contest this lane again, out comes the hook on the TA, out comes the ulti, she does the distraction, they all pop to the, she pops double damage though, and she's going to turn around and take on that Pudge, getting away with 100 HP, you're going to have to heal up now, and now she's picked up her Blink Dagger. And from this, I really don't think Alchemist stands a chance if she decides to go on him. We've already seen in these last fights that Rob has been able to just tear holes in the Alchemist, tear holes in Tenthawks. And Rubik hasn't been able to do too much, if anything, as well. I mean, he can lift up TA a little bit, that does delay her. But even so, at this point, she's not going down. She does have an advantage over you. Alchemist on level 9 compared to that TA. TA looking like she's going to do something. I'm not 100% sure what she bought. It doesn't look like anything. She picked up dust, though. I just want to say, yes, we do have the Shadow Blade up on the Alchemist. Apologies for missing that. And so that will give him a little bit more leeway in these ganks. It doesn't mean that TA with those dusts are going to be nearby. Well, it does mean that dusts have to be bought, but TA has recognized it almost immediately, so it means that Alchemist is not getting a free card there. Out comes the ulti from Pudge. Does he have the hook? Indeed, it was used to grab that line. I think we're rolling him up into the cliffs, but now with a haste ring, line should be able to get away. Pudge chasing. He does have a hook, but coming on, he's got the mana for far too late to actually latch. Now back down to almost 0 mana once again. Now we do have the Shadow Blade up on Alchemist. I mean, Shadow Blade on Alchemist, it's, in this kind of situation, does allow you to escape, but you are depending on your enemy team not being smart enough to recognize that you have Shadow Blade, not being smart enough to then get dust, get sentries. And in this case, TA is gone, well, I can see that almost instantly, and so I am going to just pick up that dust. It hasn't afforded him any advantage at all. And I do prefer the BKB on Alchemist, especially as I say coming into this mid-game. He's not going to be able to go toe-to-toe against Luna until he gets BKB. I mean, that's an absolute certainty. And so, without that BKB, all he is at the moment, he's going to be able to get some farm. But even then, we know that Lone Jewel, when she starts coming in, and it looks like we've got Lion grouping up as well. Treant on the way. We have Rob standing by in wings, whereas that Luna, she is mid by herself, so she's not going to be here in this fight. Now about 200 away from that BKB, I think, farming the Ancients, trying to finish. I'm going to find a stack that Beastmaster's very nicely set up for her. See the Hawk going down there, and I think that'd be a very angry Beastmaster indeed. He's poor Beastmaster now sitting at 3 deaths, not doing well for himself at all. And now we just have the enemy carry steal his stacks. Although she's going to back up as the Beastmaster and the Pudge roam in. Now Rob hanging around. So we do have them grouping up, but they're still not committing to a fight. We do have Nature's guys, and you do sometimes see the Treant's Protector coming in with that with the guys going for the Overgrowth, because it is a painful thing to come out. Now Rob charging in. We do have the Shadow Blade coming out. Trap's going to fly as well. But TA2 for a way to get the dust off. Now Tense Hawk's on the run. We've got a line of heroes coming out after him. Out comes the stun on Lone Jewel 2 giving chase with the Treant, and a beautiful Ice Blast catches 3. Out comes the Hook catching the TA, and she's caught between 3 heroes. Out comes the ulti from the Jakira, out comes the ulti from the Treant Protector. Pudge commits suicide now. The out on the run got an invisibility away, but out comes the dust. He is still on the run, charging out that stun. Chancellor putting it, taking a lot of damage from the TA. Actually go down to the Undying Finger from the line, finish off the Jakira. Alchemist killing the TA thanks to the ulti form, but now on the run, his leech life is getting his mana drained, and indeed he's going to go down. Undying chasing him, and she's going to be Treant finishing him off, I think, with a right click there. And that was a colossally good fight for the Raiden side. Rubik's already spawned, but that was 4 down for the TA. Now TA is at this point your big playmaking hero. But even so, you just picked off the carrier once again. That's his 3rd death. You managed to wipe both the supports. You got levels into that Undying. You've shown your first big team fight, and indeed with that, they should be able to get this bottom tower. Unless the Radiant want to TP in. But if they can get this tower again, once that happens, they start to get that map control. And I would like to now, at this point, start to see Dire get some wards, or at least some traps into that jungle, to be able to see what Alchemist is up to in there, because that's going to be most of the area he's going to be farming now. It allows you to not only see what he's doing, but to see what his team is doing, and therefore respond if any counter tanks start coming your way. Well played now, picking up her BKB, building into that Yasha next, I would imagine. Now with the BKB up at this point, I think she's going to start coming into this fight. She wasn't even necessary in that last fight, but especially with her passage, she's going to allow them to really wail on these towers. And map control is going to be key, again, I feel. I was looking at gold, now sitting at about 5,000. So BKB coming out, she is getting ulti by the Pudge. Out comes the ulti from the Luna though, and down she goes, but now running into 2. The ulti charge, sorry, the stun charging up on the Alchemist coming in. He does get it off, well played. Now in a lot of trouble. We do have the lift still on Rubik. Out it comes indeed. The armor did come out from Treant, doing very little if anything. Now Tense Stalk throws out the ice, but not able to catch her. Well played, getting away, running away thanks to an insanely fast movement speed. Out comes the stun though. Is she going to go down? Indeed, the last click, a right click from Alchemist, enough to last hit her. Now we do have Alchemist. He is picking out that Material Hammer, I assume building into that BKB. Again, I do think that is the preferential item here. I mean, Luna did, I wouldn't say blow her ulti there on the Pudge, but it did mean that suddenly, I mean, she was quite far out of position. She was in the enemy jungle. You didn't have any vision up of what they were doing, and she got herself caught out. But even so, I mean, she used her ulti there, and indeed, if she had the ulti to be able to turn around when the Alchemist came in, she might well have been able to kill him, possibly him, certainly the Rubik. Rubik's still sitting at level 4, still not anywhere near that level 6. I'll change over to net worth now because I believe that is probably more relevant. The Alchemist is actually sitting at 10k compared to Luna's 9k, thanks to that Golden Screed. But with Alchemist, he's, again, not the strongest carry in terms of bulk for bulk. He really needs a more noticeable differentiation in terms of net worth than a simple 1500. Indeed, he's only got the Midas, he's only got the Shadow Blade, and coming into a fight, Luna is going to roll over him simply because she, in terms of abilities, she offers a lot more, especially with Rob there to help out with his ulti form. He can walk next to Alchemist and massively increase the damage that Luna's dishing out to him with her ulti. Now comes the hook though, on well played. She does BKB in time. Pudge actually cancelling, I'm not 100% sure why. She did have the Alchemist roaming in. Now I think going to stun as well. Actually no, he does get it off on the line. It takes quite a bit of damage there. Now Alchemist is going to back off. Now that didn't actually go too badly for the Luna. However, it very well could have, because that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. Pudge, as a hero, that's what he relies on. And with the Beastmaster there to follow up another BKB piercing the Sable, you've got a lot of power in terms of picking her off, and that's going to be really the only way that Radiant can win these fights until Alchemist really gets his farm going on. He is actually able to pick up his BKB now, I believe, 1300 plus 1000 indeed. It's only 2300 gold, but he's delaying it for a little bit. Pipe coming out from Alchemist will take the edge off that Jakiro. Always a nice thing. And in terms of farm, actually, I mean, Undying is the off lane. You compare that to the Beastmaster, still struggling to get that mech. We've got the Pipe and the Arcane Boots up on the Undying. Meanwhile, we've got the Treant well on the way to his mech, about 700 off. And that's quite similar to Beastmaster. He's doing very well for himself. Lion already working on the Aghanims, actually. And you compare that, Rubik has nothing aside from boots and wand, not even wards. And we do have the Jakiro, it has 1000, he can potentially get the Arcane, but that's it. He's got Arcane and 2 branches, if that. So just in terms of supports, I mean, the net worth in terms of carries is more or less even, but the rest of the team is where the real story is shown, I think. We do have the Smoke Gang coming in now, and they might find Chancellor Pudding here. The poor level 5 Rubik, indeed, he's going to reveal himself now. We do have the blink on TA, indeed, out it comes. She lifts him up, throws him back down, able to catch Trent and nothing else. Another trap from Lone Joy. The team is nowhere there, nowhere near to help him out, and down he goes. At the same time, Smoke Blown, it does mean Alchemist can farm top because you know that they're all bot now. But with that said, we might just see Daya go, screw it, we're going to push down this tower because they can with Luna's passive. Although that top tower does look in a little bit of trouble as Skysway End with the Alchemist starts roaming there, starts wailing all over. He's actually going to go for the Basher Maelstrom build, which I mean, the Basher certainly is a fantastic item on Alchemist. Gives you lockdown, it gives you the ability to man-fight against the Luna. Very, very useful. So it means you can pin her down. However, the Maelstrom at this point in the game, well, Maelstrom in general, it's a cost-efficient item. But the thing with Alchemist is you don't go for cost-efficient items. Indeed, I mean, something like Armlet is actually a fantastic cost-efficient item. In fact, it's the best item in the game in terms of gold for what it gives on strength throws. But in terms of slots, after a while, after you get into the late game, it's not as useful. And that's the thing with Alchemist, he can't really waste his time on going for these cost-efficient items because he has to be getting those big items fast as he can. Hook coming out on Luna, she does pop a good BKB, she has her ulti if need be. Pudge actually coming, throws out the ulti. Out comes the Ice Path, catching 2, but now Luna's ulti follows up. Macropire catching 3, but now Overgrowth going to pin both the Alchemist and the Jakiro. Down they both go. Macropire not finishing anybody off, I don't think. In comes the Beastmaster, able to finish off the Luna and the Lion, but they pay for their lives, and that will be this tower. At the same time, Luna went down, second death for her. But Alchemist goes down as well. Now, Luna is probably the one who actually stands the more to lose here. Because, I mean, she doesn't get the full XP from that fight. It also means that Radiant will probably start to feel a little bit more powerful. And one thing with the Alchemist is it's partly psychological in terms of ganking, because it's not just that you do control the lane, that you can punish him if he moves out, but you want him to be afraid to move out into that base, and you want an Alchemist to not want to move past those first two camps in his jungles, because if you can do that, you can massively inhibit his farming without actually having to be in position there yourself. It's the fact that they just managed to take down the Luna will, I think, give him a little bit more confidence. With that said, again, I don't like the Maelstrom. It is a mid-game item. It's cost-efficient. The most cost-efficient item in the game if you're not strength at that. It does give him a little bit more damage, but again, I think he is building for the BKB now with that Mythril Hammer. But I would have preferred that BKB. In that last fight, he would have had the gold for it, certainly, if he'd gone for it. That would have given a little bit more bulk. Rosh now going down. Meanwhile, and I think with that, they are going to continue to push that advantage. They have Luna back up. The ulti up in 40 seconds. Once that comes back up, I think they'll probably just go straight down for that mid tower. Continue to deny that space for the Radiant side. Meanwhile, Alchemist selling. But yeah, if Alchemist had that BKB in the last fight, I think he... Well, I mean, he certainly would have been able to survive a little bit longer than he did. He took a chunk of damage from the Luna and indeed from the Undying. Also gives you a way to break out of Overgrowth, and given that he's the only right-click hero on this team, that's kind of crucial, because if he's caught by Overgrowth, suddenly all of your physical damage just drops off in its entirety. You need that BKB to be able to wait out the Overgrowth and pop out of it.
Dire's bottom tower is under attack.
Now we're just looking at item progression. The Lion's still working on that Aghanim. Does he have anything on the Courier? No, he doesn't. Lion, I mean, Aghanims is now actually sort of okay as an item choice, but at the same time, he's a support. He doesn't have a lot of mana, and indeed, he probably won't be able to spam it at all, which is basically why you build the Aghanims online now. I do kind of prefer with that same god going for something like the Shift Stick, going for something like the Orchid, especially the Orchid against the Beastmaster to prevent him from getting out that Raw, or to interrupt that Pudge. Both would be useful, but I'm not really opposed to what Lion's doing at the moment. We did have the Blade Mail Assault getting picked up on the Undying, and that's fantastic, both against the Jakira, against the Pudge, because you've got a lot of damage actually coming out from that. They can't do much about once it's out. Jakira is going to be throwing out the Macropire in fights, no questions asked. And if Undying just kind of stands in it with the Blade Mail, suddenly you get this support that just melts himself. And it also makes Shakira just a bit more hesitant about throwing his skills out. Out comes the Ice Pipe, just catching Luna at the very edge. Do we have the Raw on Beastmaster? We do. He's not going to throw it out. The ulti coming out from the, well played. Pudge is going to ulti her. And we did have the steal, I think, from Rubik. Indeed, he gets the Eclipse. That's going to pop the Aegis. Now Lone Jeweled on the run. Luna's going to come back out of the Aegis. And is she going to run away? Indeed, leaving Lone Jewel to fend for himself. We're now getting healed up by Treant, going to charge in on Tensor. She does have Blink. Out comes Leech Life, and she's going to go in on Tensor. She's going to dodge that Ice Path. Luna now coming in full HP after the Aegis. Gets the stun off on Protocloud, who's on the run, and Rubik comes in. And that was basically what I was talking about with Rubik. He does have the 6 at this point. That's the first time I've actually seen him get a big steal. And actually, I mean, he's level 9 now, which sort of comes out of the blue, actually, and I think partly because of the that last fight he was in, where he's able to come in late, pick up those kills. But with that level 6, suddenly he's able to, coming into these fights, Luna throws out her ulti, he can grab it and actually turn it around. And that is the biggest problem with allowing Rubik through when you're going for a mid-game wombo combo lineup. Well, it's simply that you can't afford to let the hero get his hands on what you have, because you will pay for it, as we saw in that last fight. I mean, Luna did have the Aegis, but even so, that's suddenly an Aegis that they can't use to force a fight on that mid tower. And, I mean, if in an ideal game they can just go, oh, we'll back off, we'll keep farming up and we'll get the Aegis, but against an Alchemist you can't afford to do that. He's actually charging up the stun now, looking like he wants to go in. We do have the ward coverage up on Lone Druid, but his own ward, I think, spotted Alchemist coming in, and he's got an invisible away, stopping Alchemist from stunning it. In an ideal world, you'd be able to say, "Oh, we'll just back off and take on Rosh once he respawns and push down that bot lane, continue to secure our advantage." Alchemist, however, is not a patient hero. He's going to keep farming up while you farm, and come out on top now, sitting with that BKB. We had the stun coming out from the line. He's actually going to get hooked by the Pudge, getting ulti, and down he's going to go, I would imagine. Indeed, Alchemist picking up that last hit. Now we have a Lone Druid coming in. Stun coming out on well played. She doesn't have her ulti, about a second off. Out comes the Ice Path, though, going to delay her. And now the Lone Druid going down to the Beastmaster. Ulti finally coming out from the Luna. She has popped the BKB. She actually drops to the Alchemist. Rob now going down, and Chancellor Puddinghead getting another steal on the Luna ulti. Going to throw that down, killing off the Treant. And indeed, down goes the first step. That's actually a team wipe for no death. Now, I mean, Lion did get picked off early, but I think the crucial thing there was that Luna was delayed. She didn't get her ulti off until quite late in the fight. You already had Templar Assassin down. She took a lot of damage, and suddenly she didn't have this second hero who was also a threat. She didn't have any AoE stun coming out from the line to disrupt the enemy team, and more importantly, you had finally that BKB up on Alchemist, allowing to actually weather an assault, turn around and whack her in the face with his big clanging swords. Now going to work on that tower. Raceway and throws out the hook, not able to catch anything. Stun, doing a little bit to delay, but I don't think he's going to be able to save this tower. We might be able to save the Rax though, because we do only have 1 second left on the TA. Melee Rax, I think, is actually going to go down indeed. Look at it drop. 1, 2, 3. Yep. Trent does not have his ulti. He's coming in now. Looked like he wanted to go for it. I think they're realizing it was on cooldown. And they are going to back off, leaving the range rack. But still, melee racks. That's first T3, first racks of the game. Suddenly they're turning this around incredibly hard. Difference in gold. You look at that, 5,000 gold. In Dire Saver to 2,500, 7,500 gold swing. It's a very similar story in terms of XP, 1,200 to 4,000. So an 8,000 swing. And all due to that last fight. And in that fight, I mean, Luna didn't get picked off, neither did TA really. But what was crucial was you had that stun coming out on Luna from the Alchemist. That delayed her for a little bit. Then you had the Ice Path following up. And that stopped before she could get the BPA off, before she could get the ulti off. And then when she finally came in, once again, she didn't have a second hero there. She didn't have a line there. She was already 2 heroes down. And we saw her health just drop. She kind of ran through and then just ran up away. And then went down to an Alchemist without doing all that much damage. Or indeed anywhere near as much damage as we saw her doing in that earlier fight at that bot tower for the Radiant. Now, I'm not sure if this represents a full swing, because that was a very unfortunate fight for the Dire in a lot of ways. We did have the stun coming out on well played before she get the BKB off, and so potentially, if in this next fight she can get that BKB off early, get that ulti off early, while Lone Druid is still there to turn it around, she can finish off that Alk. Alk now picking up that Abyssal. He does have the Hyperstone, and that's going to give him colossal attack speed. And so now he's actually a threat in terms of right-clicking. He can, with that BKB, man-fight Luna, and indeed out-man-fight her. Because he's going to be bashing all over the place, whereas Luna, now she has picked up the mana, getting that stun up on Sky's way, and he's going to go down to the Lion throws out his ulti, and he's actually going to go down to the Luna. He's going to buy back right away. Do we have the... No, we don't. I wasn't sure if he was fearing that. But I did actually, with him down, I mean, the rest of his team can't do much, if anything, to stop an angry Luna. But Alk alone, an absolutely colossal hero at this point. And this is a little bit odd, because I did feel that the Dire side were doing quite well in pressuring him, but I think they went into that last fight at a disadvantage, and that just allowed Alchemist, he managed to finally get over that hump, get that BKB, and now he's just going to be continuing to cement that, checking out that Rosh. Still 2 minutes left on that though. I think we'll probably... They might try and take out this T1, but I don't think they're going to push any further than that, unless they can get another team fight like that where they can force the enemy out. But otherwise, they're just going to wait out the Rosh, try and contest the fight there, because Jakiro and indeed Rubik both love that area because it's very, very thin. You get a lot of heroes condensed, and that is, I mean, in terms of macro fire, you can get a good macro fire off. You melt through what Templar Assassin has. And again, if you can pick her off, suddenly you don't have that second hero who's a threat that kind of takes a bit of the heat off of Luna. If Luna's the only one charging in, then Alchemist will suddenly be able to turn around on her and whack away. Templar Assassin, actually, I think the bigger one in terms of right-click damage. Manta does even that edge just a little bit. But TA, thanks to the Deso, thanks to that meld, I think she will be the one who Alchemist will have more qualms about facing in a 1v1 man fight. Now I've got less than a minute on that Rosh, indeed 30 seconds says that time, and I think that the Dire side knows that they pick up that Hawk. They don't have vision though. Pudge roaming around, throws out the hook. Actually, it managed to catch Luna, and this could be a disaster. Well played, throws out the BKB, but still in a lot of trouble. The Abyssal is going to lock her down, and now she's dead. Dire have to back off. They just don't have the AoE damage. And we do have the Alchemist with the double damage, which is very unfortunate for the Dire side, because it means they can't contest this at all. So, a bit of bad luck in terms of the damage, but also Luna getting hooked. And now I'm actually starting to see that Lion actually getting pinned in by the Dragon, says screw it, and just ulties his way out. I mean, it is only, well, it's a 100-second cooldown. Actually, does he have the Scepter? He does, and we're looking at a BKB coming out from Lone Jord, allowing to let her do a little bit. Now out comes the Pudge hook for stuffing in. I think just going for a why not hook. Now the BKB on Sky's way and just wailing away on that tower. Still got 20 seconds left on Luna, and she doesn't have buyback. She just picked up Talisman actually. She would have had money for buyback if she had more than Talisman there. That's a bit of a mistake. Now the ulti coming out on Lone Jord. Raw, nice and pale coming out from the line. Now wailing away, but the stun comes out on Dojo Win. He goes down as well. And the Pudge picking up Tempo Assassin simply by standing in next to her and having halitosis. Now finally in comes Luna, but she can't do anything at this point. I really think that Talisman Invasion buy was a big mistake. She needed to be in that last fight. She did have gold for buyback, because I saw her buy Talisman just as Alchemist kind of broke that high ground. Now, Talisman I can certainly understand how comes the hook and able to latch, because you do need evasion up against Alch's bashes, because you want to be able to man fight him as well as you can. GG's nice comeback, says Lone Jord, and indeed it was. Up until that fight mid, and I think the Golden XP Grass would agree to me. Look at that, just colossal spike. But up until that fight mid, it very much looked like the Dire's game, but suddenly Radiant suddenly able to turn around and show them that an Alchemist who starts to get farm, starts to get that BKB, can out-man fight most heroes when you start to get out of that mid game. Now we have the Overgrowth doing a little bit, but not much. Rob caught in the ice path, and Sky's just wailing away on him, and I think that's all she wrote in terms of actual play analysis, because the game is well and truly over at this point. Ice path coming out. Again, I don't really think that there's anything that the Red Dire did particularly wrong. In terms of their own play, they were able to pressure that out very well. They were able to get those fights. We saw them roaming bot, punishing not the out one time and then twice in that second fight where Luna showed up. And from there, they really were just trying to cement their advantage. But then we had the Luna getting caught out once, and more importantly, I think Lone Jord getting caught out in that mid fight. And from there, it just seemed to turn into a fight where they suddenly couldn't hold back, where the floodgates opened, as it were, in terms of their Alchemist floodgates of gold. So, my name is 555. Thank you for watching. I'll catch you next time.